There we are.
Hey, I have to change locations.
That's okay.
So,
That's okay.
all right. Okay.
All right. Yeah. So, welcome everyone. We're kind of being forced to experiment with the Instagram. We're trying to record this on Zoom. It's Homa again and Noreen. Obviously, this is off your profile. We're going live.
Yes.
And this is in discussion, our continued discussions on narcissism, which we've done a few episodes for our channel, Filling the Gap on YouTube. So this was a pending episode that we wanted to do on female narcissism. So here we are. We took a little break, a few-week break, and get our senses and everything together. But now we're back. So welcome back, girl. It's always good to see you.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you. Oh, it's been a heck of a summer,
I
but
know.
yeah.
I know.
Okay, so let's jump right into it
Yeah.
in terms of South Asian communities and female narcissism.
Mhm.
And I really like this, the story about the viewing of the show Dirty John and why it's important. So do you want to share that?
Yeah, so I was saying that there's a lot of information in our Western culture, Western society on narcissism, on toxic behaviors. There's many speakers, there's many, there's many areas that we can go to for help. But within the South Asian culture, we don't really even have the tools to recognize toxic traits. They're kind of just, said, oh, that मर्द ऐसे ही होते हैं या औरतें ऐसे होती हैं. Like we don't really have anything to identify the specific bad behaviors. So I say Dirty John series. It's on Netflix. I don't know if people are familiar with it. Even for South Asians, to be able to watch something visual, to see the red flags of the two types of narcissists. There's always overt narcissists. The best example we can use in today's society is probably President Donald Trump, where they're outwardly aggressive, very controlling. They don't have the ability to listen the way we saw in the debate recently. And then there's the covert narcs, who are more insidious. They're more manipulative. And I personally noticed that within our South Asian culture, because we are discussing female narcs, the women, we're kind of almost groomed or trained or thought, told to be very submissive and quiet.
Right.
And the way that covert narcs work is more of like a wolf in sheep's clothing type of a situation, which is back to Dirty John. If somebody wants to understand the difference, watch the first episode, the first series, where it shows the overt narcissist. And then if you watch the second series, the second film, it shows a more of a covert narcissistic character, which are more difficult to pinpoint and find out normally. And, we both of us have had experiences with all sorts of narcissists in our lives, and through friends and coworkers or whatnot. So let's go through some of the traits of the covert female narcissist. Balls in your court. Let's start with you.
Okay, I think one of the biggest ones is, well, first of all, insecurity is an underlying reality when it comes to all narcissism. So within the South Asian community, it's I call them the fire starters, and I think you do too, is where they actually create confusion with misinformation and then cause conflict. And it's done very innocently. Oh,
Yes,
very,
yes, with a
very
smile, with a
subtle.
smile.
Smile. So and so said this about so and so, and those
Yeah,
kind of like fire starters is also a form of covert narcissism.
yes.
And it's often I consider it lies and I consider it manipulation. So that's what it is.
Yes, very much so. And I think all you have to do is watch a Pakistani or Indian drama,
Yeah.
and you'll get those characters. Those like, the Saas Bahu Chakkar, or like, the sister-in-law or daughter-in-law, or one of those female characters that is like, because women, we're told to be submissive, we're told to not relay our anger, and we're supposed to keep it all bottled up inside. So I think a lot of women with unhealed pain from childhood or from traumatic experiences, they don't really relay it, and nobody actually listens to them or recognizes it. They keep it bottled up inside, and if you're not a strong enough person to heal yourself from within, you tend to begin to project your anger and pain onto others, which is a total narcissistic trait, right? It's almost like, if you really look at what a narcissist is, they are very pathetic people at the end of the day. They're very sad individuals. They're very unhappy inside. They're very out of control. internally. So they micromanage. If you'll see it in workplaces, you'll see it in families, you'll see it in any situation that they're in. They need to kind of poke their nose everywhere. They're busybodies, or they need to be in everybody's business, which is generally the way that it goes. The gossipers, or the idhar ki baat udhar karni, acting nice to your face and then backbiting you, and just trying to create destruction within relationships rather than unifying people, which is, there's no point in that. That's obviously somebody who's not a happy person. They like to cause drama because somehow seeing other people's in pain makes them feel good about themselves, and which is generally the case with unhappy, miserable people, right? Like they tend to do that, which is sad. Yeah. But yes, so with, they have a sense of, it's almost like a grandiosity too. They have this competitive nature where a lot of women tend to compete with each other unnecessarily, and this is why you and I are friends, because, and I have a very close small group of female friends, which are mature women. And a mature woman does not behave. First of all, we tend to just mind our business and stay in our own league. We don't look at what other people are doing. But with the covert female narcissists, they always are looking at what everybody else is doing. They're always comparing themselves to other people. They're always trying to force you into unnecessary competition when you're not even playing any game. You're just kind of doing your thing. But it's that insecurity that makes them want to constantly one-up other people. What's your experience with that?
Well, I just wanted to point, there's some comments coming in which, our people are relating to.
I know, I'm trying to.
So awesome, thank you. So yeah, absolutely, the competition and so forth. What I find covert narcs with females in South Asian communities is the insidiousness of things. So and I shared many examples. For example, they'll have a different face in front of other people. They'll be rude to people, but with their spouse, their husband who walks in, and let's say they've been rude to his parents or his siblings, suddenly they're just different and very kind in front of them. So this kind of the switchover of different masks makes it very insidious, because in complex families like South Asian community families, these kind of personalities create tensions, because when it comes to especially married couples, the husband often falls victim to being in the middle. Or also severing ties with his own family to keep narcissists happy. And this becomes very problematic when it comes to, again, long-term relationship with the children, because South Asian families tend to have where the female has full control of access to children and spaces. So this too, very much a South Asian community, I would say, nuance when it comes to this part. Anything else you want to add to that?
I want to add to that the main point that I want to talk about with a narcissist overall. Any human being, I don't really believe, like, there's malignant narcissists who they're incurable. There's no way to get through to them. They have one motive. They're very entitled. They will do and step over and hurt whoever they need to get whatever they want. Right. So then there are just damaged people who are maybe weak, who maybe grew up in toxic environments and have some toxic traits, but these people have good hearts. So they're fixable. So they're just kind of, traumatized people who need some love and understanding. And, it's usually PTSD, because when you're in a toxic environment and you don't know what it is, you tend to mimic these behaviors and just keep passing them on, which is in our South Asian culture, I think, a lot of parents or mothers especially end up just giving birth to their pain. They don't know how to deal with the trauma that they may have suffered in their childhood. And there's so much stuff that happens that we just don't talk about. All kinds of abuses, especially in Muslim or South Asian societies. We don't talk about the sexual abuse that girls or children go through. And these are things that, happen to everybody, and most of the women. And we don't have any kind of outlet to, or nobody wants to hear about it. We're told to stay quiet, or whatever the case is, all sorts of abuses, whatever they may be. So when you don't deal with those emotions, you kind of, you become resentful, or you become angry, and you have these toxic traits, and you've never fixed them. So what ends up happening is, we get married, we reproduce, we have kids, and then we just, those habits. It's like being a child of alcoholic generally turns out to be an alcoholic themselves. So these cycles of abuse.
Cycle of abuse.
You have to make a conscious decision that it's going to stop with me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, you don't continue those cycles. You have to be wise enough to look at yourself and reassess and say, okay, well, am I, repeating toxic traits? Do I,
Right.
and then stop yourself. And it's a journey, right? But back to the female narc, you'll see it a lot also. And I like to, poke fun at it. I make a lot of these silly videos and I kind of laugh about it, about some of the traits. Within the Desi community, we have this thing called the kitty parties or committees or the ladies
Right.
gatherings or even any family gatherings, and then you always have those female aunties, right, who wants to brag about their children. My son is a doctor, he did this, and then they cause this competition between, so what has your child done? My son is better than your son, or my daughter is better than your daughter. It's always this, and which is sad, again, when you go to the root of it, this person, or the ones that are always kind of showing off their material wealth. They want to show off that they got this new Chanel bag or there's Gucci bag. It's nothing wrong with having nice things, but I feel like these people, they're so empty on the inside that they're filling up that emptiness by overcompensating for their insecurity, by over boasting or over bragging or showing off their material wealth or showing off or blowing up their children, or exaggerating the accomplishments of their children to make themselves. And it's so clear to the sane person who's listening to this and watching this tamasha happen.
Yeah.
You're just looking at it like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's just this weird competition, competitiveness, and it's a severe insecurity. So again, with the South Asian culture, we have these, fire-starting female-type personalities, and it's not a healthy environment. It's not healthy to be married to one of them or have one of them in your family or home. And what are your feelings about that?
Well, I agree with you. You said something really profound when it came to people, women are birthing their pain, which is like, the cycle that begins with a whole.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are female narcs who really can't be helped either.
No.
One of the biggest things about this is taking accountability, which is an issue with
Yeah.
narcissism. So blaming, everything is your fault. There's no
Yeah.
accountability of how they contributed to an issue.
Yeah.
So with female narcs specifically as well, I find because our culture has women generally be quiet, demure, so they play these very complex games of secrecy, lies,
Yes.
and then manipulation in the families. And I find that is very vital in identifying early on. And when you confront them, never confront them, things become worse because they will then block you from the children. They will do different things. Like, there's a Dr. Ramani's video, sheds a lot of light on this.
It's amazing.
But
amazing.
covert narcissism in South Asian communities, with the females, it goes undetected. It really does. People are too brought into the drama. So-and-so said this, so-and-so said this. You didn't call me. But they don't, realize there's a sick person here.
Yeah.
Who needs to be addressed. And the person suffering, especially in a marriage situation, is the husband.
The husband. And I really wanted to touch upon that because, obviously we're very vocal females, and a lot of the talks that we've done is based around females and how oppressed we are. But there are men in our culture who are also, bichare, they're stuck in the middle.
They're stuck in the
middle. Either it could be their mother is the narcissist, or their sister is the narcissist, or their wife is the narcissist. And again, going back to using human beings as tools or pawns, it is not past a narcissistic sociopathic person to use their children as tools to hurt other people, right? So that's withholding the child from the love of the nanny or the dadi or the khala or the pupi, maybe because that mother does not like these certain relatives. So again, it's brainwashing of the children. It's in spousal situations when there's a bad divorce, and I see a lot of, there's a lot of men out there. These poor men, they work hard, they do everything they can to keep their wives happy, and there's a certain type of wife who's just never happy. You can have, and it's always, I find that's always the way, right? These great guys end up with these severely toxic women.
Yes.
You can spend as much money as you want on them. You can get them whatever the hell they want. They're never going to be happy.
Never going to be happy.
Because at the end of the day, and I've learned this the hard way, you've learned this the hard way, unless you're at peace with yourself, because happiness starts from within.
Yeah.
Unless you're content and 100% secure with who you are, you're never going to be happy. You're going to be looking for happiness externally. You're going to try to be filling it up with money, monetary things, buying things, relocating. Or maybe if I go on vacation, I'll be happy. Maybe if I, do this, I'll be happy. No, you need to stop and you need to just sit down and you need to look within. And this is a big problem with narcissists. They don't have the ability to self-reflect.
No,
like a normal person, we all screw up. Who doesn't screw up? Who doesn't make mistakes? You know, it's and to have good people in your life who love you. And I always say this, if your circle of friends or your family members tell you what you want to hear as opposed to what you need to hear, you really don't need those people in your life. You need the people in your life who are going to tell you what you need to hear. Because that's the only thing that gives you that wake-up call and helps you change. That's my personal experience anyways.
Totally. But with narcissists, they don't take that information.
No.
The problem is it's a filtered hearing. And so with narcissists, I mean, it's, again, there's no difference between the female and male when it comes to the inability to rationalize and consider the entire spectrum of how one is affecting someone's life, right? The other thing is, in terms of giving,
the takers, 100%.
Give, it's calculated.
Yeah.
It's not something that they want to do. So it's takers, it's, so that part too is very important when it comes to understanding how narcs work, especially female narcs.
Yes. Yes. It's like, it's never enough. You know, it's like it's like an endless pit, and you keep putting your soul and your blood and your sweat and your money and your hard work and your love into this pit of a person, and you're thinking you're going to change them or wake them up, or somehow magically they're going to start appreciating you overnight, and it just doesn't happen. And this is the problem. See, and there's lots of sayings like this, and I'm a big quote freak. So one of my favorite ones is that the giver needs to set limits, because takers never do. Because if you're an empathetic, giving, loving person, you know, you want to help the other individual. You have to understand, though, at what price are you going to keep helping someone? You know, you have to stop that cycle and put your foot down at some point. And like I said, there's a lot of unhealed people that maybe don't know how to get out of toxic cycles. These are not necessarily narcissistic, malignant narcissistic people. They're just traumatized people that maybe need some guidance, right? But again, you have to stop enabling it for people to understand. So with a malignant narcissist who is never going to change, there's no way to get through to them whatsoever. The only way to change them is to just cut yourself off for your own mental health. Because what ends up happening is you're banging your head against a brick wall. You're going to end up smashing your head. The brick wall is not going to change. It's going to stay as it is.
No, it's not going to change. And when it comes to, the covert narcs in our culture, especially with the females, a lot of times it's not called out. It's, it's almost like there's patience around it. There's also, they can't recognize the issue. They call it is a personality flaw, but at the same time, it's also, what's the word? It's disruptive. And it's something that can cause, long-term consequences. When it comes to those, like you said, they keep the kids away, whatever it is, they have full control over how they're operating with that system. So, it can happen with parents, siblings, spouses, friends. It doesn't matter. And they will, again, turn things around and also use you for their own goals and purposes.
That's just
Once
what narcs
they've
do,
used
right?
you, they will throw you away.
Yeah, so, exactly. The discard. It's and then this is the tough part. Because both of us have been in situations, relationships where we absolutely love an individual. And I'm talking about, it could be anybody. It could be a friend, it could be a spouse, it could be, a family member, where you genuinely love this person and you want to believe the best about them. You always want to give, I was married to a completely narcissistic, sociopathic person. And what you end up doing, and a lot of men do this with the women, is like they think that they can somehow, and this is the problem, we think we can magically help them, and narcs play the victim all the time.
Yes.
It's always, they're eternal victims.
Yes.
It's like, I'm so screwed up because this happened to me, because that person did this to me, because this happened to me when I was little, or whatever. It's always everybody else's fault,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's, for a certain time, we all feel like victims at some point, but at some point you have to stop yourself and be like, no, you know what, I made mistakes too, or I need to be accountable and I need to make changes within myself.
Yeah.
But with a narcissist, you can't. It's always everybody else's fault.
Yeah.
And they're always the smartest person in the room. It's always my way or the highway. And there's no relationship that can successfully work when it's all one-sided that way. So it's always a two-way street, especially marriages.
No, it's
You know,
abusive. It's actually it's actual abuse, and
Yeah.
from the female perspective, unfortunately, because it's not physically, they're not. When in most cases, there are some that physically are abusing,
Yeah.
the husband. Because
Yes.
they're doing that, they're verbally abusing. They're being aggressive. They're calling their names, like really, like they're rough. So people accept it.
Yeah.
They think, oh, it's a female. She's she's.
And let me make this point.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make, and I'm going to take the guy's side on this one, right? Because it's in our culture, especially, but if even worldwide patriarchal culture, somehow weakness is associated with, not being that macho, bravado, tough guy, not being that, So if a man doesn't, I think it's the strong men who don't hit the abusive women back. That's a real man.
Real man.
Because he does not lay a finger. He knows he can take it. He knows that that's a woman, and you know what I mean? So it's always the weak men that are oppressive to women. It's always the weak, insecure men that feel the need to call women derogatory names or oppress them or whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot of men out there who, just to keep the peace, will put up with a lot of abuse, all sorts of abuse. And again, like we said, if they're stuck in the middle between, say, their mother and their wife, they just want peace, right? They work or they go out, they want to come home quietly, they don't want to deal with the headache, and they just tend to stay quiet. But that's not good either, because that gives whatever female narc, that it empowers them more, and then they start to kind of isolate them more or take more control of this. It just, with narcissists, you have to stop enabling them. You just have to. Everybody learns at their own pace, and some never learn. So the whole idea is to, if you keep on giving into their, fits or their tantrums or their need for control, they're just going to keep doing it to you.
Yeah.
And it's you that has to stop and be like, you know what, I can't anymore. I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
If you want to dig your life into the ground, go whatever. But, I'm not, I don't want to be a part of it. Yeah. So I'm reading some of these comments.
Yeah, really interesting and insightful comments. Like, I'm really appreciating the comments.
Yeah, I like that part.
Too fast, but yeah, it's really awesome. So I was going to say that, so one of the things is that it's such a private battle for anyone who is with a narc. And I think what we're trying to do is bring awareness. So even people from the outside can be supportive to those suffering with a narcissist. Oftentimes people who are in there, like I know when I was, and you don't know that you are in a narcissistic relationship, and being knowledgeable about it so you can help another person identify it.
Yeah.
The first step, because oftentimes a person is just surviving to not upset this person, especially female narcs. Their moods go
because
off.
You have to walk on eggshells around them.
Yes.
Right? You have to literally walk on eggshells around female narcissists. Yeah. And then and the whole thing is like the overt ones will throw tantrums, throw fits, go into the pretty much very like Donald Trump type situation, and then you have to kind of take care of that. But the covert ones also work in. So the thing with narcissists, they're very vindictive. They're very petty. Pettiness is huge, huge. Badle lete hain.
Oh my
God. Like they'll get back at you.
Small thinking.
Very small hearts, very small mind,
and it's beyond it blows your mind.
It does, because I can't even, and they take so much time and care into going out of their way to cause disturbance into other people's lives. Like, I don't know that any normal person that I deal with has the time to do that. I know I don't. Yeah. A normal person wants to see other people happy. It makes you happy to see other people happy.
Right.
But with the narcissist, they have this need to always be the center of attention, to have the most expensive designer bag, or to have the smartest child, or to have have the most expensive dress on,
Yeah.
or to brag about, you know, my husband is the most successful. It's just a fake. And in South Asian culture, unfortunately, I'll say it, our whole society is based on appearances. It's just all about appearances. It's, you know, it's a lot of it is very shallow.
Yes.
We live to please people. And, you know, it's a cliche thing. All the comedians talk about it. It's just a known thing, right? So, you know, and I'm lucky because my dad was not like that. So I had a really good example where he could care less what people thought. He knew who he was and he was doing his thing. And I'm very, very grateful to God that I had that example. I didn't understand it at a younger age,
Right.
because the societal pressures do get to you as a woman. You know, you're told you're supposed to be a certain way or whatnot. But as you grow older, and I think a lot of women in their 40s, you know, we don't give a, you know what, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you don't care because you've gone through so much.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is, I was going to also say is that within the South Indian spectrum or reality, it's you know, especially when it comes to spousal matters, they really, the covert narcs really have an upper hand here when it comes to this sas bahu narrative. The
Yes.
sas bahu
Yes.
narrative, when it doesn't have to be that, they can get along, but they
Mm-hmm.
jump on that bandwagon and utilize it because
Mm-hmm.
people are like, oh, it must be your mother-in-law. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
they play into that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that in itself is a dangerous precedent because what we've done is we've created a kind of like a box here that
Mm-hmm.
supports continuous disharmony between
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
between families, and more
Yeah.
importantly, as a covert narc, utilizing that and acting innocent when in
Yes.
fact
Yes.
there's
Yes.
there's
That's the
problems.
best part.
Yeah.
Because they're and the people who don't live with these particular people,
Yes.
who don't, you know, jinka utna baitna, as far as day to day, you know, waking up with this person, like the outside world thinks these are the most wonderful,
Oh,
helpful women. Hi,
amazing.
kitni
Yeah.
achhi auntie hai, itne pyar se sabke sath rehti hain, or such a nice person. So you have to understand, with narcissists, that's also a part of their ego,
Yes.
right? And you see that a lot with the religious leaders as well, the do-gooders, the martyr complex. They sometimes feed their egos by having to project this image of, I am such a wonderful human being, not because they want to do good for people, but because they want that that adoration from society, you know, to tell them you're such a wonderful person.
Yes.
But inside, the back behind the scenes, the behaviors that's happening, only the spouse knows, or only the internal family members get to see
No.
that part.
Yes.
And you know, and it all has to do with, you know, just that whole lack of that whole insecurity and that need for validation. It's always external validation. It's
Yes.
always needing somebody to tell them how wonderful they are, how perfect they are. So you have to be very careful. And honestly, both of us, you know, when you danced with devils face to face, you learn a whole lot of
You
lessons.
learn a lot, and
A
it's
lot of lessons.
beautiful. So
Yeah.
this is just, you know, basically shedding highlight that anyone watching this who is experiencing this, there is a name. It's called narcissism.
Yes.
Covert narcissism and over narcissism exist, and that you're not alone because you're not crazy. They make you think
You're
you're not.
not. Yeah.
Yes, they make you think that you're insane.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we've kind of covered the basics for this. We
We,
can continue
we have. Yeah.
after or so far. This was really different. First
Yeah, we
time.
don't want to go too long. We'll
Yeah.
wrap it up. But the main thing that I would want to say is, like, when I was in this situation, at times you're surrounded by that toxic person so much that you get jaded. You
Yes.
have no sense of reality. You're so mind controlled almost. And you're caught in this cycle of abuse where, and then they'll throw you little bits of appreciation or little bits of love when they get what they want from you, or when they feel like you're breaking away, or your eyes are about to open, then they'll throw you with a little bit of the love bombing where you're like, oh, okay, I got some love. You know, they throw you a breadcrumb, like I said before in one of our previous chats. And then you get hooked into it again. So if you're in a situation where you feel like you're walking around on eggshells around a person, that you have bent over backwards, there's so many good men who are caught in these situations. They are amazing men, and they do everything in their power to keep these wives happy, and they just can't do it. Or it could be, you know, there's parents like that. There's mothers or fathers even in the Desi community. It's like our poor Desi kids. I think, I think we're left always, overall, not all of us. You know, some of us are blessed with very good, accepting, you know, parents or whatnot. But overall in the Desi community, you're always left striving for that affection. So any relationship that makes you feel like you have to beg them for love or affection, you know that you're in a troubled situation. And it took a lot for me to step away from to heal myself. It was actually my very best friend, and she gave me the nicest verbal slap in the face, and she had to say it to me, and then it really hit me. So you need those people in your life. Go to the people who tell you the truth.
Yes, yes.
You don't go to those people that are going to tell you what you want to hear. Right? You need to, so this is what I think that the whole basis of this is, I know we don't know a lot of people out there personally, but, we're trying to discuss the certain traits and whatnot. And, if we're able to, through our talking and our experiences, be that friend for you who does give you the little verbal lashing that you need to wake up, message us, let us know what the situation is. And again, and I think I posted something on my Instagram today that we talk about therapy a lot. And I think that, you can only learn so much with a degree or going through a theoretical situation. And there was a doctor actually who said that the best therapists are abuse survivors, because they've managed or they've learned to cope with their triggers and their traumas and horrific situations on their own.
Yes.
And they grow from that. And that's what I say about strong people. Strength doesn't happen overnight. You know that, I know that, and every strong person knows that. And we're still human. We still have our breakdowns.
Yeah.
We still have those moments where we, don't know what the hell to do with ourselves, but you learn to cope with them. And you pick yourself up and you get back up and you just, grow stronger and stronger every day. But again, sorry, I'm rambling again, but any finish?
I was just going to say, just tying it up is that, because, when your friend told you that you're in this kind of relationship, you were, I think, ready to hear. And I think people have to be also aware that when someone is telling you the truth, or when you tell
it's gonna hurt.
And also too, when you tell someone the truth, doesn't mean they're ready to receive the information. They may just be out of their life. But that being said, do the right thing. Just tell the truth. That
just do it.
In a proper relationship, but that it is an abusive relationship, and that it's what is going on here is unhealthy. So yes, I'd rather hear the truth, even if I'm not ready to hear it.
Right.
And
and with the women, with the women with the covert narcs overall, they're very tricky, right? You have to be aware. Normal people don't play games.
Right.
Like a normal, mentally healthy person who just wants a simple life and simple, healthy relationships, they're very open. They're very upfront. There's no secrecy. Secrecy is never good, really, in any way, shape, or form. Usually, if it's not okay to do in private, it's not okay to do in public. That's my saying, right? Yeah. So a lot of the secret behaviors or not sharing of information or feeling like they don't play games. So, and the whole game playing idea is another control thing. Like I said, human beings are chess pieces, whether it be their own children. They like to use human beings as pawns to either hurt the people that they may be angry at, or as a means to get what they want for themselves. So if you're dealing with a person like this, you need to have a wake-up call and understand that nothing in your power, nothing you're going to be able to do is going to fix this person, right? You have to save yourself before you go absolutely insane and crazy, because it ends up having an effect on that victim.
Absolutely.
Of who's surrounded by all of that.
Yeah.
So.
And their families and so on.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think we should tie it up now.
I think we should too. I think this is going for hours.
This impromptu situation. So thanks for watching and for the chats and the comments. We're gonna have to review them and then comment on them.
For sure. This was nice. This was an Instagram experiment. I've never actually gone live before, so this was fun to do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we were able to record. So we'll probably upload this. And we'll be back soon with other topics to talk about. And if you have any questions, feel free to message us, and we'll try to incorporate them into our next discussion.
All right. Okay. Take care.
Okay.
I'm ending it up now. Okay. Bye.
Bye.